Let's go Dolphins! The decisions made in the coming days could propel this team toward the Super Bowl or delay it for years. A storm is brewing in South Florida, and it's not the weather, it's the Miami Dolphins preparing to redefine everything. A new head coach, potential coaching staff changes, and rumors swirling about who's in charge on both sides of the field. But before we go any further, like this if you're a die-hard Dolphins fan, and if you've been following the Dolphins for 20 years or more, I want to see you in the comments with, "Go Dolphins!" My heart bleeds aqua and orange. Let's see where the real fans are. Now let's get right into it. The Dolphins made waves recently with the hiring of Jeff Hafley as their new head coach. It's a move that has generated as much curiosity as excitement. Hafley, coming off his tenure at Boston College, is respected for his defensive mind and player development, but the question now is, how will he build his coaching staff for the 2026 NFL season? The pressure is on. Dolphins fans want answers. And the first two major vacancies on everyone's mind? Offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. There's been a lot of chatter, a lot of speculation, and now, some concrete names are surfacing. Let's start on the offensive side. The name that's caught the most steam in the past few days is Jason Vrabel. Currently the pass game coordinator for the Green Bay Packers, Vrabel's rise has been steady. He's been a part of the NFL coaching scene since 2013, first with the Buffalo Bills, and since 2019, with Matt LaFleur in Green Bay. He's worked with receivers like Devontae Adams and emerging talents like Christian Watson and Jaden Reed. In 2022, he became the Packers' official pass game coordinator, a role he continued through 2025. Vrabel knows the Shanahan-LaFleur-McVay system, which has flourished across the league. The idea of bringing that offensive DNA to Miami is appealing. After all, Tua Tagovailoa, Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle would be dynamic in a properly structured scheme. But here's the twist. Vrabel has never called plays. That's the catch. Hafley is already a first-time NFL head coach. Do you risk pairing him with a first-time play caller? It's bold, potentially brilliant, but also risky. A great offensive mind doesn't always translate into a great play caller. The Dolphins can't afford a steep learning curve, not when they're knocking on the door of contention. So while Vrabel is an intriguing name, it leaves us wondering if Hafley might go with someone more seasoned. Enter Bobby Slowik. Now this is where things get interesting. Slowik has already called plays in the NFL, 2 years with the Houston Texans, including an impressive 2023 season with rookie C.J. Stroud. That offense not only won a playoff game against Cleveland, but also ranked top half in several offensive categories. Yes, 2025 saw a bit of regression, but context matters. Stroud didn't play as well, the offensive line was banged up, and expectations skyrocketed. Still, Slowik is just 38. He has experience. He knows what it's like to navigate real game-time pressure, and perhaps most importantly, he has history with Hafley. They were on the same staff in San Francisco. That's chemistry you can't fabricate. Plus, Slowik is familiar with a good chunk of Miami's offensive roster, which only boosts the odds of a smooth transition. If you're Hafley, why wouldn't you lean into someone who already knows your tendencies and expectations? But there are other names floating too. From Nate Skillhouse, Rams pass game coordinator, to Steve Shimko, who's been linked to Hafley previously, to Sean Mannion, a young rising coach in Green Bay. Most of these guys, however, share the same issue as Vrabel, limited or no play calling experience. It feels like a gamble, but for Hafley, it's about finding someone he trusts, someone who shares his vision. Now let's shift to the defensive side, because here, things are far more grounded. The leading candidate, Tim Lukabu. If you've never heard the name, start paying attention. He's currently the linebackers coach with the Jacksonville Jaguars, but more importantly, he has a deep connection with Hafley. These two worked together at Boston College from 2020 to 2022, where Lukabu was Hafley's defensive coordinator. That defense, despite lacking elite talent, ranked nationally in the top 50 in categories like first downs allowed and tackles for loss. In 2021, they were third in the country in passing yards allowed per game. That's not a fluke, it's system and discipline. But Lukabu isn't just tied to Hafley from college. They were also together in San Francisco in the late 2010s. So the connection here is real. They've built defenses together before. Lukabu's ability to run a full defense as a play caller, even if just in college, gives him an edge over many of the other candidates being discussed. He's also been in NFL coaching rooms in Cincinnati, Carolina, and Jacksonville. He knows the league. This isn't a flyer. This is a calculated option. And let's not forget Anthony Weaver. The current Dolphins defensive coordinator is still in play, but only if Hafley doesn't want to call plays himself. The two worked together in Cleveland a decade ago, and Weaver already knows Miami's defensive personnel inside and out. He's beloved by the players, considered a player's coach, and could keep some valuable continuity on that side of the ball. But if Hafley does intend to call the defense, Weaver probably moves on. He wouldn't stay for a demotion. Other defensive names worth watching include DeMarcus Covington, former Patriots DC, who worked with Hafley in Green Bay this past year. He has play-calling experience too, and stylistically fits Hafley's aggressive, disguise-heavy approach. Let's pick it up right where we left off, because here's the truth. Dolphins fans, Jeff Hafley doesn't just have a decision to make. he has a legacy to begin. The very first moves of his NFL head coaching career will shape how this era of Miami Dolphins football unfolds. And it's not just about schemes, it's not just about familiarity or past connections, it's about building a culture that can thrive under pressure and deliver when it matters most. Let's dive deeper into Tim Lukabu. What makes him not just a candidate, but arguably the most logical hire for defensive coordinator? Well, the synergy between him and Hafley isn't surface level. They've built a defense together at Boston College under difficult circumstances, limited recruiting power, lower-end talent. And still Lukabu helped push that unit into the national spotlight in critical defensive metrics. But beyond college, he's been grinding in the NFL trenches. With the Jaguars this past season, he coached a linebacking core that improved significantly in discipline and tackling fundamentals, two areas Hafley demands perfection. Even more compelling, the coaching tree connection. Hafley, Lukabu, Bobby Slowik, and even DeMeco Ryans, these guys were all in San Francisco at the same time. You want continuity in philosophy, communication, and structure? That tree has it. Hafley is trying to recreate a cohesive vision in Miami, and pulling from this web of familiar minds might be the smartest route to fast-track success. You don't need to waste time building trust when it already exists. Now, let's double back to Bobby Slowik. If you're wondering why this name keeps rising, it's because the fit is almost too perfect. Here's a young coach with real NFL play-calling chops, who managed to build a top-tier passing offense with a rookie quarterback, and he knows the current Dolphins roster. He worked with players like Patrick Paul, Devon Achane, Jalen Waddle. He understands their skill sets, their tendencies, and how to put them in positions to succeed. Think about this, a head coach in Jeff Hafley who has a defensive background, a rising star OC in Slowik with play-calling experience, and a DC in Lukabu who has run Hafley's system before. That's a blueprint for consistency. That's a staff built to grow together. It's the kind of structure that gives a rookie head coach the best shot at success, instead of trying to juggle egos or teach his assistants on the fly. But here's where it gets even more intriguing. Jeff Hafley hasn't confirmed whether he'll call defensive plays himself. If he does, then hiring someone like Lukabu, who knows how to support a play-calling head coach, becomes even more valuable. If he doesn't, then Anthony Weaver becomes a more viable retention option. That question, will Hafley call plays, will be front and center during his joint press conference with new GM John Eric Sullivan. It's scheduled for Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern, and it could tell us a lot about the direction this franchise is headed. There's also something else to keep in mind. If Hafley is going to be the defensive play caller, it puts even more pressure on getting the right offensive coordinator, because Hafley won't have the bandwidth to micromanage both sides of the ball. That OC needs to be ready to take full control of the offense from day one, and that's why hiring someone like Vrabel, while exciting, could be dangerous. You don't want to end up with two first-timers trying to figure it all out at the same time. That's how you end up 7-10 and searching for answers in November. So what's the most realistic and balanced scenario? If Hafley decides to call plays on defense, he should lock in Bobby Slowik as his offensive coordinator, someone who's done it before and done it well. Then, bring in a guy like Lukabu to help oversee the defensive structure while allowing Hafley to focus on play design and in-game adjustments. If Hafley chooses not to call plays, then the best-case scenario might actually be retaining Anthony Weaver, who already has the respect of the locker room and has shown he can deliver results with Miami's current defensive roster. Let's not forget, this team isn't rebuilding. The Dolphins have a Super Bowl-level roster on both sides of the ball. This isn't about installing a new system over 3 years. This is about making the right hires, the right decisions now.